Today I'm going to make Hungry Jack casserole. That's one of my boys' favorite meals. I have been making this for many years, and I was making it long before we were eating GMO-free organic foods. And so I've modified the recipe to accommodate my family. This is actually one of the meals that I consider to be a convenience meal for us. We have very few convenience meals. Most of our stuff is made from scratch. And as an example, since we have gone GMO free, my 7-year-old does not remember eating at a restaurant ever. And my 4-year-old has never eaten out. So I have to be pretty creative at times to make things so I can have a quick meal and yet not feel like everything is always a drudgery in the kitchen. And today I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to combine convenience and, fortunately, something my family loves. Okay, one of the things that makes this convenient is that I use canned baked beans. Now you can use dried beans and make your own baked beans. I have done that also. But this, since they've started producing the organic baked beans, I don't mind doing this once in a while. You also need hamburger, cheese, onion. You'll need the biscuit mix that you'll find on my biscuit recipe. You need a source of barbecue sauce. Now I haven't done a lot of gardening in the past few years, so that means I haven't been able to do a lot of canning. So I rely a lot lately on organic ketchup. It's hard for me to find organic tomato sauce here to, you know, make your own ketchup. So I just buy the pre-made. And you'll need some sugar, and that's the ingredients you'll need, unless you want to add salt and pepper as you cook it. So, real simple. You take your beans, you put them in your pan. Now this pan looks huge, and it is, but this stuff will bubble, and if your pan is too short, too shallow, it's going to boil over. This is a doubled recipe, and I make it like this, one off because I'm feeding hungry guys, and secondly because I want leftovers for the next day for lunch. The organic baked beans come in a really small can, the 16-ounce can. If you buy the regular size can, you can get them in 32-ounce cans. And you would use 2 32-ounce cans for half of this recipe. And like I said, this is a large batch. So I'll break it down in halves, because I know a lot of you guys might not cook this way, or might not have the number of people to feed, or they might not be all men. Alright, so once your beans are in, you're going to add your ketchup. So if you're doing half this recipe, you've got 2 32-ounce cans of beans. You're just going to use one of these containers. The ketchup and sugar quantity is really a taste thing. It's like the amount of onions you put in. We like a lot of onions. Some people might like, you know, when you do baked beans, if you're using ketchup and sugar, technically that's what seasons your baked beans besides some paprika or dried mustard or whatever. It's a matter of the flavor you want. Some may want more sugar, some may want less, some may want more ketchup, some may want less. Add your sugar. And as this cooks, this will also create more liquid. It will get a little more brothy or juicy, however you want to say it. Now, like I said, we like onions. So add your onions. I've used 3 medium-sized onions, 1 large, or 2 medium. Now, as far as the amount of hamburger, if you're making a half a batch of this, again, that's 2 32-ounce cans of baked beans, or you're looking at probably 2 cups of dried baked beans, or beans to make into baked beans. A medium onion, what size ketchup was that? 1 20-ounce ketchup. I would use 2 pounds of burger normally, so which means on the double batch I would use 4 pounds. Unfortunately, I didn't have that much today. So I am just going to use about 2 pounds. It's not as much as I like to use. I like it a little bit meatier, but it still is enough to give a nice, good flavor. I am going to add a little extra salt to the recipe today. I like to add paprika to everything, but I'm not going to today because, quite honestly, I don't know why. It's buried in my cupboard. I don't feel like looking for it. The biscuit, like I said, if you follow my biscuit recipe or any biscuit recipe, and in fact, the original recipe, like I said, this was an old recipe that somebody gave to me, and they use the Thump It biscuits, you know, the roll of stuff you buy at the store. I've never used that. I've always used the homemade biscuits, but you can use the pre-made biscuits. If you're going to use homemade biscuits, use your own recipe, but try to go by the ratio on my biscuit video. But cut that in half also. In my biscuit video, I think I used 4 cups of flour, so you'd want 2 cups of flour along with your lard or your butter. And then you just have it, you make them thinner than you would a roll-out biscuit because you want it more like a dumpling. So again, you want it more like a dumpling. You don't want it so thick that you can roll it out. Because you're just going to drop these right into this mixture here. And the other thing is, I add a little more or a little less baking powder to this because I want my dumplings a little more substantial. I don't want them to fall apart. Then you just start plopping them wherever. Midway through cooking, you need to pull this pan out and you need to flip those biscuits. Otherwise, the bottom of these will stay doughy, and you don't want that. Oven about 325 or so. These don't have to cook all extra fast. And we'll check them here in a bit.
And they'll be delicious.
My fire was not as hot as I normally would have it for going in the oven. Like I said, about 325. And it took a while because my wood was a little bit wetter than what I've been working with for it to come up. So my biscuits spread out, which is okay. It's not a big deal. Usually your biscuits will be fluffier following a biscuit recipe. But you see how they're gooey on the bottom. And you really just need to take time to flip them. If you cook it long enough, they will get done on the bottom, but it can make your tops too brown. And these tops could be a little browner, but the bottoms, which will become the tops, will be browner when it's all said and done. And it helps to flip them either with a nice big flat spatula. Boy, I'm having trouble talking right now. Or a nice big spoon like this. Alright, so this is it. As you can tell, can you get up in there, Josiah? It's gotten a lot juicier with cooking. So now the recipe originally called to put cheese on it before you baked it. But I found that it used a lot more cheese than necessary, and it wasted it. Because if it dried if you didn't eat it all, and the next day the cheese had kind of like, I don't know, dissolved or fell apart and stuff, and you didn't really get the flavor of the cheese. So now all I do is I just sprinkle the cheese on top after I bake it, and it'll melt right away. And there you have it, Hungry Jack casserole. How come you always seem to be my taste tester?
Just lucky, I guess.
So seriously, is this one of your favorite meals, or where, between 1 and 10, where's it rate for you?
Give me this and puppy chow and I'd be happy for life. Might gain about 500 pounds, but I'd be happy.
Be a happy camper.
This is seconds.